Let's just jump right in. Today we are tackling protein skimmers, and we're going to figure out exactly how to choose your next piece of refiltration. If you've been in the hobby for a minute, you know these things are absolutely core to marine aquariums. I mean, they literally pull dissolved organic compounds right out of the water before they can break down into problematic nutrients. But man, with all the options out there, picking the right one can feel, well, super overwhelming. So let's cut through the noise together.
Now we've got to start by confronting probably the biggest misconception in the entire hobby. This idea that buying a massive skimmer, based entirely on your tank's nominal volume, is some kind of guaranteed recipe for success. It is so incredibly tempting to just look at a box that says, rated for 200 gallons for your 100-gallon tank and think, awesome, I'm future-proofing my system. But as you'll see, that bigger is always better mentality, it's actually a trap. It can literally lead to worse performance and endless frustration.
So here's the deal. A manufacturer's optimistic rated tank size means practically nothing if you don't first evaluate the real-world bioload that's actually happening inside your glass box. Those ratings on the box are based on very specific, honestly pretty idealized assumptions. Your actual bioload is determined by your specific fish count, how heavily you feed them, whether you've got a dense coral-heavy system, and ultimately how much organic waste your unique tank generates every single day. That is the true metric you've got to measure against.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to hit 1, the tank size myth. 2, sizing up your space. 3, decoding the skimmer specs. 4, the maintenance reality. And finally, number 5, making the final choice.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the tank size myth. Notice the contrast here between just looking at nominal volume versus your expected organic load. If you've got a super dense fish population, or maybe you run a system with really heavy feeding because you want to hit those ultra-low nutrient goals, you absolutely have to size your skimmer based on that expected organic load, not just the raw gallons of water. I mean, think about it. A lightly stocked 100-gallon tank has vastly different filtration needs than a 100-gallon tank that is just packed with heavily fed fish. You've always got to let your actual organic load dictate your sizing requirements.
Moving right along to Section 2, sizing up your space.
Before you even glance at the price tag, you have to make sure the unit actually physically fits. You really need to measure your available sump space, your secondary filtration tank, and ensure there's enough clearance. And I don't just mean for the body of the skimmer itself, but you actually need headroom to remove the collection cup for cleaning. You've also got to verify your plumbing aligns, which is super important if you're running a high-flow setup, and crucially confirm the specific water depth requirements. A skimmer might look amazing on paper, but it becomes entirely useless if it requires a water depth that your setup simply can't provide.
Okay, Section 3, decoding the skimmer specs.
The fundamental way a skimmer works is by pulling air into the body and creating these really fine bubbles. This increases the contact time with dissolved organics in the water. So when you're looking at specs, pay attention to the air draw, which is usually listed in liters per hour, and internal designs like cone-shaped bodies, because those promote stable foam production. Increasing that bubble contact time is exactly how a skimmer cleans your water. A quick tip here, look closely at community reviews. If a certain model consistently produces really dark, thick skimmate, that nasty gunk it pulls out, that's a fantastic signal of superior bubble formation and organic processing.
And this brings us to a really major choice, recirculating versus non-recirculating models. If you push for maximum nutrient reduction with a recirculating unit, you're getting highly efficient bubble production. That's fantastic if your ultimate goal is ultra-low nutrients. But on the flip side, keeping things simple with a non-recirculating design is great if you just want a reliable baseline of skimming for a system that's already well-balanced. There's honestly no universal winner here. It completely depends on what your goals are and, frankly, how much you're willing to tune the equipment.
Next up, we have to talk about the absolute heart of the skimmer, the pump, because your pump choice affects everything from your monthly electric bill to whether or not the skimmer keeps you awake at night. These 4 factors really must be part of your evaluation. If your tank is in an open living space or maybe a bedroom, noise might literally be your deciding factor. You also have to think long-term about the availability and cost of replacement parts. Ask yourself, are you getting locked into a proprietary pump, or does this skimmer accept standard, commonly available sizes that are just way easier to service down the line?
Let's jump into Section 4, the maintenance reality.
I want you to think about your own daily routine for a second. How much time do you really have? Are you genuinely going to spend 30 minutes wrestling with an awkwardly designed collection cup every single week? Look, if a cup doesn't seal right, or if the neck is super hard to wipe clean, or if the design basically encourages salt creep in hard-to-reach areas, your maintenance is going to slip.
A design with great accessibility and fewer annoying parts will almost always deliver better, real-world results than some ultra-complex model that you just end up avoiding altogether.
There's a quote directly from our source material that really hits the nail on the head here. It says, "Even the best skimmer won't perform well if you rarely clean it." The absolutely crucial takeaway is that maintenance isn't just a chore. It's an active, undeniable part of the equipment's overall performance. A convenient cup seriously reduces the chance of you putting off maintenance. Conversely, if you've got a skimmer that's tedious to clean, it's going to result in skipped chores, and that will quietly and inevitably degrade your tank's water quality over time.
Tuning is another major part of this reality check. Skimmer performance depends heavily on having a really precise water depth. You want to ensure you have stable sump control, probably by using an auto top-off system, to deal with daily evaporation. Because if your water level is constantly fluctuating, you're going to be stuck in this incredibly frustrating cycle of endless trial and error just trying to keep a stable foam head. Look for models with easily adjustable features, and definitely remember to account for the initial break-in period. New skimmers always require a little bit of tuning before they start producing that stable skimmet.
And finally, Section 5, making the final choice.
If you can successfully navigate around these 4 critical mistakes, you are practically guaranteed success. First, don't blindly trust tank size ratings. Always look at your actual bioload. Second, don't ignore the pump. You've got to factor in noise and replacement costs. Third, don't just guess your space. Measure your sump depth and your plumbing clearances. And lastly, never ever buy a skimmer that's a pain to clean. By balancing the sizing, the processing capability, adjustability, and maintainability, you're going to select a reliable, set and refined tool that keeps those dissolved organics perfectly under control.
As we wrap this up, take a moment to evaluate your own setup against the framework we just walked through. What are you actually going for? Are you pushing for an ultra-clean, pristine coral reef, or are you aiming for a more relaxed fish-only tank? Let those long-term goals guide your final choice, because once you perfectly balance your filtration with your actual bioload, what kind of incredible, thriving marine ecosystem will you finally be able to build? Thanks for hanging out and exploring this with me today.